Hello there, you're listening to the Power Movement.
Welcome to the Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and for the next 2 weeks, I'll be talking to some wakeboarders. This week, my guest is five-time Cable Park Rider of the Year, Daniel Grant. Daniel's only 20, but he's already done so much in wakeboarding, and we'll talk about life in Thailand, traveling the world on your own at age 11, and a whole lot more. As always, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, and I want to thank everyone who bought hats on thepowellmovement.com. While they are limited edition, I still have more. Before we get into the show, I need to ask you to please follow me on Instagram at The Powell Movement, share my posts on Facebook, and reach out to me with any questions or concerns you have. My email is mike@thepowellmovement.com. I also want to thank my amazing sponsors who make the show happen. They are Evo, Rescue Water, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. Now let's head over to Thailand and talk with Daniel Grant.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Just got home after like 6 weeks of traveling through America and Europe. And so it was nice to come home for a bit and relax. And then now I'm just getting my X Games part started.
Where were you in the States?
I flew into Orlando like I normally do to hang out with DT, Brandon Thomas. And then from there I went to Valdosta for the yard sale second edition.
I would think when you come to the U.S., you go to Orlando, you might have an event in Georgia, and then you go to Texas, maybe a little California time. Do you get to see a lot of the rest of the country, or is it a couple spots you go to?
In the past, it definitely has liked to bounce around whenever there was events and this and that. But this year, it has been pretty quiet compared to the other years. So it was literally flying to America for like 10 days. I was supposed to go to Barcelona a week after that to go winching with two other friends. But then I had to call that off because Liquid Force wanted to do their team shoot in Germany. So I went and did that. And then we were just traveling in Germany and Austria for the next week. And then I went to Barcelona for 2 days and then started in France. Then I went back to Barcelona. I went back to France and then flew to Italy and I went home.
You're like 20, right?
Yes.
When you do all of this travel, are you paying for this out of pocket and being reimbursed? Are sponsors taking care of the tab while you're on the road? How do you front all of that?
My dad's my best manager for most of that. Like I don't really see it most of the time, luckily enough. But I think a lot of my sponsors do help out a lot with my travel, or it's like it does get reimbursed in some way.
So when you have a trip, you've got a 6-week trip planned. Is your dad doing all the legwork ahead of the game for you, or are you involved, or you just get on the plane and have an itinerary?
I definitely choose where I want to go and how I want the flights done. I just don't sit on the computer like looking at the flights and all that type of stuff.
The difference between you and any other athlete I've had on the podcast is you live in Thailand. And I'm a US-based podcast. I talk to mostly US-based athletes. And there is a big difference from not being based in the States when you have American sponsors. But you live in Thailand, and that's a totally different world to me because I've never been there. First, I want to know, what cultural differences do you notice when you come to America that you're just like, this is weird or this is really cool that you don't have in Thailand?
I feel in America, it's very TV show like everyone's very into everything and like you can like get along and get into everything very well, as opposed to like Asia where everything's a lot more subtle, but it's a lot more like calm, and it's a definitely different world. But it's I definitely like always going for the switch up because I say like 90 days in one place, it's like time to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess in your world, not for most people, but the way you live your life, yeah, 90 days is enough. Living in Thailand, there's got to be some things that you've done that we haven't. And one, have you ever ridden an elephant?
Yeah, definitely. I think at my 8th birthday, I had an elephant come to my birthday party.
No way, you can rent them.
Yeah, kind of. He showed up a bit late. The elephant had to walk to my house, but yeah, I had an elephant come out to my party. Like friends are like riding my little like, mini motorbike and stuff. And I guess in America, parents and stuff would be very concerned about their child riding on a motorbike. But then all my friends are like, oh yeah, I've ridden one before. little 8-year-old, so like definitely hadn't rode one before and just wanted to ride my bike. Bikes were going into like the grass and all that. It was good times.
Do people still smoke everywhere there?
Not as much. Like in Indonesia, like Bali and stuff, you can still have advertising for like cigarettes and everything everywhere. It's not the same here.
They're not smoking on planes and stuff when you're flying over there?
No, nothing like that. But like I think outside like malls and stuff, it's still okay. Rather than like in Europe and stuff, it's like fully like you got to go to a designated area.
What are some laws over there that Americans don't know about that often get in trouble for?
I don't know. I know there's a stupid law that's like, there's a law on like you have to wear underwear in Thailand. And apparently it's illegal to not wear underwear.
You can't freeball it.
Yeah.
What happens if you're on the water in your bathing suit?
That's what I mean. It's like it's such a backwards law to me. It's like I've searched it up and I think no one's ever been really caught for it. It's just something that's been written down as like, but I don't really know.
I hope you get arrested for not wearing underwear.
Oh my God.
It would be amazing.
It would. But I don't know. The drinking age is like 20 here, but it's not really. It's like just a guideline. And then I don't know what people get in trouble in here for. It's just like more, I don't know, not taking your shoes off at the temple or something.
You can get in trouble for that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a respect thing, I guess, to like leave your shoes in front of someone's house or like a place like that you're going into.
In the States, some people make you take your shoes off when you go in their house, and some people don't.
Yeah, and pretty much here, it's like pretty much every house and every like temple or.
Okay. You moved to Thailand. It wasn't like you were born there. And is there any different treatment to you since you're not 100% Thai?
I guess it is a little bit, but it's not fully because I can speak Thai, I guess. Because I don't really look Thai, but I don't really look English. So I'm like a foreigner everywhere.
Okay.
And I like pull off this like, they'll be like talking to me like I'm a foreigner, this and that. And then I'll like whip out some Thai and then they're like, whoa, what happened? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've lived here for like 15 years, this and that. Or I'll be in England and then the same, but like vice versa type of situation can go on.
I guess it's cool when people are talking shit behind your back and don't think you understand the language, and then you can just look at them and speak.
Oh, yeah. It's hilarious. It's really good. Like going out and something and you see someone like drunk talking, you're like, oh, wait. And you like, boom, jump in their conversation. Like, shit, they were just talking about me.
That's the differences between Thailand and here are just a few things I wanted to find out, but we're here to talk about your career in wakeboarding. We'll still talk about life a little bit as well. And I know that you moved to Thailand at what, age 5?
Yeah, 5.
When you get there, what kind of sports and what kind of things do Thai kids do? Here it's a big soccer world.
Yeah, I'm more an expat kid. I went to international school. I didn't get put into like a Thai school or anything. That's why my like English and everything kind of stayed how it was.
Okay.
But my school had like pretty much everything to offer. Really, it was pretty mega. It was, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 kids or something like that.
God damn. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was like all the way from kindergarten until like you graduate type thing.
Wow, that's a ton of kids in school.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of kids, like loads of school buses and everything. We had like 3 swimming pools, 10 soccer pitches, lots of tennis courts.
That's like a university over here.
Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty full on. They were really nice to me too. Like I got to get like a lot of time off for my wakeboarding stuff. Where I even did like a little winch video inside the school in their pool and this and that. They were pretty chill with the way I wanted to take my wakeboarding and that.
Did you play any other sports before wakeboarding and skateboarding took over?
Oh, I was doing like the full school athletics thing, I guess. Like every day I would do like, I don't know, they'd do like an athletic day and then there's a swimming one and then there's like a soccer one, tennis one or something, and then one other one. Like every day was filled because we'd finish school at 2:30 in the afternoon and then I'd have activities till like 4 and then I'd get taken to the cable park until like 6 o'clock p.m. from the age of 8 or 10. Yeah.
And then skateboarding for you, I think you got your first skateboard at age 3 and you're probably just messing around at that point because I don't think you're getting too many tricks at age 3, but everything does progress for you fast. And in terms of wakeboarding, it's like 8 when you get into that sport.
Yeah.
And how does that happen?
That happened through skateboarding at a skate park in Thailand. I arrived to Thailand. I was skating those. Like, I got a couple of friends in my neighborhood that had like skateboards and this and that. So I started to get along with them, but they were a bit older than me. And I learned how to ollie this and that. And I guess at 8, I was at a skate park, and then some kid just told me about this cable park. I don't know. He explained it to me, and it seemed pretty interesting, and I wanted to go check it out. Told my dad about it since he was at the skate park with me. The next weekend made it happen, and I was pretty much hooked. Like, I don't know, I couldn't make it around the first corner the whole time. I was devastated. But then I made it like a challenge to myself. If I'm going to fall at the corner every time, and I knew I was, and I saw like the kicker to the inside, and I was like, oh, if I can do this on my kneeboard, I'll like accomplish something before the corner, and then I won't feel bad that I fell at the corner. So I like learned how to hit like a kicker on the inside on my kneeboard, and then I'll try go for the corner until like for so long. But I just love hitting the kicker on my kneeboard for so long. It was hilarious.
Do people even use kneeboards anymore?
There's a couple of people. I saw a video of a double flip on a kneeboard not too long ago. I think it was at Rickson. He did like a double flip, and then he landed and did a flip after. The little bounce flip they do.
Getting into it, most kids here in the States, and for me, I'm a lot older than you. If I was to get into wakeboarding when I was younger, I needed to have a boat. My parents needed to have $70,000, and I'd have a great boat to get behind. Not everyone has that. But for you, being that you're 20 years old, the world of wakeboarding is opened up to everyone now. But not as many people know about it yet, but these cable parks where you're just using a machine to pull you around and you don't need a boat. I mean, how much experience do you have behind a boat?
Barely any. Like, I rode cable for about 2 years or a year and a bit until I had my first ever boat session. And that was probably just because a wakeboarder from Thailand would come to the cable park and would like offer this and that. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'll try it out. Because at that point, as soon as I learned how to go around the corners, I wanted to ride everything. Like, it was a pretty old cable. It's about 30 years old now. But like, they had the kiteboard company, Air Rush, and Starboard is produced there, like right at the cable park. So like, there's always these like old random surfboards laying about, like paddle boards and skis and trick skis or whatever, like discs. So I was like, whatever I could pick up, I was riding as soon as I could go around corners. So as soon as someone offered to me to ride a boat, I was like, oh yeah, I'll go for it. It was really hard, I guess. It's different to cable.
Yeah, I mean, it's super weird to me knowing that you're one of the best in the world, and your experience, I mean, you've probably got a handful of times behind a boat in your life.
Yeah, it's not that many. It's really hard for, I guess, in Asia, because when you don't have a boat, you're pretty much paying for boat sets, and those are like 15-minute sets. And a 15-minute boat set was the like 4 times or 5 times the price of an all-day ticket price of a cable park. It was a no-brainer. And then when I was riding boat, I always felt pressured, like, oh, you have to do this now, and like you can't, because I was so used to just riding cable and being able just to hold on and just chill and not worry. One boat, you're like, oh, if I just hold on, I'm wasting the gas, and someone else on the boat wants to ride next, or like, so, and they're like, oh, why don't you try anything? Well, I just like standing on my board and like cruising around and staring at the water, like having fun, like.
Different experience for you coming up. And what's the action sports landscape like in Thailand? Are there a lot of wakeboarders? Are there a lot of skateboarders? And are you into the culture of everything?
I'd say I'm kind of in the culture. I mean, not really, but the wakeboard scene has definitely been around for quite a while in Thailand. Like, even the cables, like I was saying, the one I started, that's been around for about 30 years. And there's been 5 cable parks in Thailand for the last 20 years or so.
Are they busy?
Yeah, I think it started off with all the like a heavy water ski thing with Thailand, and then as soon as the wakeboarding kind of picked up, it wasn't very liked at the park that I started riding at. Like, the owner wasn't into it, but the pro shop at that cable was selling wakeboards. Long story short, the guy who run that pro shop at that old cable is the guy who runs the new cable park in Thailand called Thai Park. So everyone who's ever deal with wakeboarding all pretty much swooped over to the old wakeboard park, and it's kind of really blew up after that. But before that, it was still kind of booming.
In terms of your progression as a wakeboarder, I mean, you're at this cable park every single day from when you're 8 to 13-ish, getting as many laps as you possibly can get in. Are you like a 10-year-old kid doing full-on man tricks?
I didn't do my first invert until about 4 years of riding. Like I said, I really like just riding and chilling on the water and cruising around doing random stuff. I was just doing like back 780s and just like really basic stuff. But then there was one day when one of my friends was like, "Oh, Dan, you need to learn inverts, this and that. I'll give you an ice cream if you learn like one invert or this and that." And then in that day, I learned front roll to scarecrow, a switch front roll and a switch scarecrow, and like a front flip.
And then you realize it's on?
And it was on. And then like learning like chromobes or anything like that was just like so instant, I guess, from just going out and doing back 780s, switch back 780s and random just basic stuff all day and just like spinning about.
When you're messing around and just having fun doing tricks like that, that's where your style is going to develop. I mean, you're not trying the super hard stuff. You can just make those 180s look exactly how you want them to look.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, you know, you've developed a style based on fucking around for a bit.
For me, it wasn't like doing it one way to have it look one way. It was like, oh, I've learned it this way. I'm going to try to learn it another way, but still like the same trick, I guess. Like that really got with me with wake skating. I got to learn to shove it, and it would really bug me that my feet could only be in one spot to do the shove it. And I'm like, oh, well, after I learned how to get it good there, I was like, okay, I'm going to just stand here and make sure I know how to do it. Or like, it was just like little like tricks in my head that were just like, I don't know, you don't realize it when you're watching someone ride, but then you're just playing games with yourself riding, which is chill.
At 13, you go pro, and that's a really young age to go pro, but it's all based on ability and all based on the sponsors, I would think. Actually, what does it mean to go pro in wakeboarding? Because in skateboarding, it's one thing where you're a paid AM and you eventually get made pro. And in snowboarding, it's another thing. What does it mean in wakeboarding? How does that happen? Is it just the contest you enter?
Yeah, I guess so. But the way like it happened for me, once I entered pro, I couldn't like step back down in the boys division.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2010. And the Turkey was part of the World Series, like in Hypnotics, before CWC, the one in the Philippines.
Okay.
And I did the boys division. I ended up winning, and I'd like did boys all that season. So I was like talking to my dad, like I would just want to try pro, like see how it goes. Like whatever, if I don't make it through, or like I'm just gonna ride against whoever. And it was like full on like head-to-head series. I ended up like winning that contest in the Philippines against Tom, and then from there I was like, if I ever go back in the boys, I'll be the biggest sandbagger in the world. It would look terrible. And then I would like follow on to the next contest and the next one, and I kept doing well to the point that like school was like not even a thing anymore, because I just like kept going contest to contest to contest. And it was like, if I did well, I was like, oh well, I might as well just go to the next one until I do bad or like something happens.
Yeah, and before we get any further into this, I'm going to take a break real quick and talk about my sponsors. And the first one is Evo. They are hands down the best retail location in the country for ski, snowboard, skate, bike, lifestyle, and they have everything you could possibly want for your adventure. I've personally shopped there since they opened because no one comes close to the service they offer and the vibe the shop creates. And now that it's bike season, if you're in Denver, Seattle, or Portland, Evo is your one-stop shop for the best bike service and brands. If you can't make it to a store, don't worry. Evo.com has all the brands, all the products, and a low price guarantee, free shipping on orders over $50, and a no-hassle return policy. For listening to the show, they're going to give you 10% off your entire order. When you check out, use the code capital TPM, the number 10, it's all one word, and you'll get that 10% off. My next sponsor is Rescue Water, and they are proactive recovery, and they should be your choice for hydration. Rescue Water is science that is designed to replace your electrolytes better than a traditional sports drink. Think of it like this. Energy drinks are better than coffee for a pick-me-up, like Rescue Water is better than a sports drink for hydration. And with Rescue Water, better is something you can feel. Anytime you work out, you lose electrolytes. Make the smart choice and replace them with Rescue Water. And if you're a night owl like me, drink a cold Rescue Water before bed after big nights out. No more Saturday morning headaches, and it's amazing how well it works for me. Make Rescue Water work for you by heading over to rescuewater.com. You'll save 20% off a 12-pack case when you enter the code RESQ Water TPM. That's all one word. Rescue Water is also available on Amazon. My final sponsor, brews beer, drinks beer, and has fun doing it, period. They are the 10 Barrel Brewery based out of Bend, Oregon, and they live and breathe the snow and bike culture. And they support it with events and, more importantly, beer. 10 Barrel wants you to know that it's important to drink beer outside. While we all have a few cold ones indoors, there's nothing that compares to a cold 10 Barrel when you get off the trail or you're just chilling with your friends out in Mother Nature. And while we all love beer, 10 Barrel also delivers on the food front. If you find yourself in Bend, Portland, Boise, Denver, or San Diego, make sure you check out one of the 10 Barrel pubs for some great food and our favorite beers. Support the beer that supports action sports, the 10 Barrel Brewery. Find out more about the beer, pubs, and events over at 10barrel.com. Those are my sponsors right there. You get so good and you're doing so well in these contests that you eventually drop out of school or your parents allow you to move next to the cable park. And life for you is pretty much waking up and riding, and that's all you do, right?
Yeah, that was literally it.
I can't imagine parents. I mean, I have a son, and given he's not talented on a wakeboard like you were, but I couldn't imagine if my son was 13 years old saying, hey, dude, all right, fuck this school thing, man. You're really good on your wakeboard. We're going to move you right next to the cable park. You're going to go every single day because you are going to make it. But that's a deal, all right? So have fun and get really, really good. Is that where your parents were in that?
No pushing in it at all, really. They would never like, oh, like go out and go ride really good and do this. Like,
I would think they'd push against it almost. Like, hey, let's go to school first. You're 13.
I tried to do online schooling as soon as I left, and it was really hard, I guess. When I left school, it was like my dad made a point to me just to like, if you really want to wakeboard, you really gotta want to wakeboard, Dan. Like, and I guess I really wanted to wakeboard.
So there's two sports in it, really. I mean, you've got wakeboarding, which is the primary sport and the driver of dollars and contests and everything for every pro athlete. And then you have wake skating, which to me is way more fun. And that's me personally. I have a terrible knee, and for some reason, I feel like when I get on a wake skate, I can lose the wake skate, and as long as my foot doesn't hit it when I'm bailing, I'm fine. With a wakeboard, I feel like I'm locked in. Now, I know that's more mentally me doing that, but for you, wake skating is something that you love to do because you grew up skateboarding, and I would think it transfers over very easily, but it's not something you can do as like a full-time pro because it's like a niche within a sport, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, like I think maybe 2007 or something was the year for wake skating. Like, it's really hard for wake skaters right now. It's kind of weird with like, as soon as the wake skaters thought they were big enough to like try make their own companies and think that we could split out from wakeboarding was like when it kind of went weird. Just need to stay all together because it's all just way too small to even like split out. Because like wake skate tried to be so like core and like skateboard heavy that it just kind of made like the wakeboard people not even give a shit about it anymore. And it's like, oh, well, fuck, like we're still gonna wake skate. It's still cool. It's in a funny spot this year, eh?
Is there anybody who can make a living off of just wake skating?
I mean, Reed Henson's the only one, I guess, right now. Grub fucking rides a wake foil. It's so much swimming and all that. Like, and I've been very lucky in Thailand to where, like, at my cable park, there's a truck that picks us up wherever we kind of fall.
Well, that is very nice because, yeah, I mean, I'm used to following and having to swim a lot, like you say. I look at that as part of the game, and I don't get to do it like you. I mean, this isn't my living when I go. It's a buddy who's got a boat. Yeah, we're going to get out on the water. But this is your life, so you can pick and choose whatever you like to do. What do you have the most fun doing?
I have these, like, zones or, like, eras of, like, when I like doing. Like, I've just been wakeboarding like, for the past 6 weeks, traveling around. Did barely any wake skating. Like, so I was, like, a bit burnt out from it. So as soon as I got home, even though I needed to start filming for X Games, I needed just to throw in some wake skating. Because I knew if I was wakeboarding at home before I started to film for X Games, I'd just be burnt out to film rather than kind of hungry to film since I hadn't been wakeboarding. Like, rebalance yourself out. Because, like, if you do anything too repetitive, you got to, like, leave it alone for a bit, because then you're like, oh, keen for it again. I want to go try it, and then boom, go wakeboard, and it's real fun. And I'll go back to wake skate. I'm like, oh wow, like wake skating is amazing too. Like, but I really find that like wake skating has like really helped keep injuries away from my wakeboarding, from how much like low impact it is and how much like satisfaction you get from landing little things, and then the way you fall and you're always swimming and kicking back. And with wakeboarding, you ride and you take impact and impact and impact, and until you're like sore, and you just take a break, and then you feel good enough, and you go and do it again and again without even realizing. And I think with my little wake skate breaks, it's kind of helped me just like let my body just recover.
One thing I didn't touch on is growing up, did your family have any money?
I guess so. Well, it wasn't like super crazy money. Like my dad worked.
You weren't thinking about food and stuff like that?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about food. So it was pretty easy, I guess, like that. Like my dad lived in Thailand before for like 10 years working here. And then before I was born, flew back to England so I can pretty much like learn English, get my citizenship, and like hang out with my grandparents, this and that. And then once I was old enough to move back to Thailand, I guess it was like, I guess my dad wanted to move back. And I had no idea. I was 5 years old. But I guess I would definitely not start wakeboarding if I stayed living in England, like with the weather and everything. I guess I would have just kept skateboarding, because I was literally skateboarding in Thailand and it was so hot that to the point like when I went to wake skate or like go wakeboarding, it was just an alternative that didn't hurt and it wasn't hot.
What's the water temperature like there? Is it like jumping in a bath?
In the summer it is. I only know in Celsius, so let's say like 75-ish, 77.
Celsius?
No. Fahrenheit.
I was going to say, like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And then sponsorship, you get picked up by sponsors at a young age. I mean, there's not many people in any sport that really get hooked up at a level where they're traveling the world at 13. But you were, and how does sponsorship work out for you?
Well, when I was started, it was the pro shop at that old cable park. They distributed Gator, and like pretty much 2 years into my wakeboarding, I think the Gator boards team flew over for the transgression filming and all that. And then I pretty much got to meet like Eric and like Lidberg and all the whole team and all this and that. The lady who owned the shop was like, oh, Dan, you should like go talk to them or something. I was like, oh, I'm like 10, like I don't know what to say. Like pretty much just like, oh, like can you give me like a board? And they're like, oh, and then kind of hit it off like that. And then that was like my first kind of board sponsorship with Gator.
Anybody who sees this little 10-year-old kid just fucking ripping, it's like one of those things where whenever you see a kid who's doing something at an adult level, all you can do is laugh, smile, and everybody wants to hook you up with product because they know you're the future. And did you find that whenever you'd run into like a dude from a brand who'd see you ride, immediately was like, man, what board are you on?
Yeah, like actually it's pretty funny. I think I forgot when it was, but in the Philippines or something, I got offered to ride a Liquid Force one. At the time, I was still young. Liquid Force was so big to me, and it was like there was so many people that was on it and this and that. And like when I was so young, it felt so nice and cool to be on like such a small core team. There was only like 6 or so riders on the Gator team, but then I really knew everyone, I guess, better, and it was more like getting to know people and this and that rather than being lost in a big family. And it was like crazy. Like when I was a kid, I'd be like, no way, like I've never done it before. And funny enough, like I'm back on it.
You want to stay small until you realize that when you get with a bigger brand like Liquid Force, there's a lot more marketing dollars behind. You might not think of it like that, but there's more marketing dollars behind you to market you, and it creates a whole lot of opportunities. When do you actually get on Liquid Force?
I think I was about 13 or so, 13 or 14.
And is that when traveling really starts ramping up for you, when you get on the big brand?
Before, it was like more like me doing it before and it getting reimbursed, or I'm doing well in a contest and that kind of reimbursed it in a way. And then living in Thailand, it was really helpful since we got like a all-around summer. A lot of the Europeans and that would come over like during the winter and stay. So when I was traveling throughout Europe and that, I had a lot of help with people that had came over in the past.
Traveling as a 13-year-old, I mean, is your dad traveling everywhere you go?
No, I could travel by myself from the age of 12.
Really?
Yeah. On British Airways or American Airlines or any company like that.
The unaccompanied minor?
No, not unaccompanied minor. Like, there's only certain companies that let you do it from your 12. You're 12, you're sweet.
You're good to go?
Good to go. Like, no worries.
So your parents trusted you because you're traveling the world. It's not like you're just going to another place in Thailand, but you've got a trip to Germany. You're 14 years old. Your parents just drop you off at the airport and like have a good time?
Well, pretty much. Well, like I was saying, with the people that had come over in the past, I'd know them very personally, I guess. And then traveling now is easier than taking a bus or a train. It's so like idiot proof. There's signs everywhere. There's a board. There's always someone at an information desk. You got to be an idiot to not know how to travel.
You say that, and it's funny, but I'm sure I've met people that just get super nervous when it's time to go to the airport, and they freak out, and they're just not good travelers. So while we think it's easy...
I still get nervous, but that's because you're going to miss things that you're not going to have, and you're not going to be comfortable where you're going to be. That's part of it, I guess. It's not the airport, like flying and everything is not hard.
Let's just talk about who sponsors you today. Who pays you to wakeboard?
Liquid Force, Rip Curl. First Rip Curl had been with me since I was like 12.
Awesome.
The pro shop I started riding for was an Intensity Pro shop since I was like 9 or so. Liquid Force I ride for. Shark Energy Drink I just started riding for this year. It's like a energy drink based out from Thailand.
And so I've never heard of Shark, and you probably ride for some brands that I haven't heard of, which is fine. But is Shark like a big energy drink brand? Because when I hear the name Shark Energy Drink, I think it's like two dudes in a garage starting something up because I've never heard of it, but it could be the rage of Thailand.
It's been around for quite a while in Thailand. Thailand has the original Red Bull. We used to not have the carbonated Red Bull that's like sold worldwide. So basically, the carbonated Red Bull that's sold worldwide was like an Austrian guy who's like traveling in Bangkok, and this drink is basically like a truck driver's drink and just keeps him up to drive and this and that. But then that guy took the recipe and had like 51% or something and made a carbonated drink, but it wasn't sold in Thailand until, I don't know the real story, but I guess the owner died or something, and then his kid was in charge of it and then got in an accident. Austrian Red Bull helped out in his accident, law stuff, if they could distribute normal Red Bull in Thailand.
So the moral of the story is drink Shark Energy Drink?
Well, Shark Energy Drink was the Red Bull around the world before that happened. It pretty much tastes exactly the same. That carbonated version of Red Bull wasn't around in Thailand until like the past 2 years.
Like in the US, is the energy drink one of your big paydays? Is that one of the great sponsors to have?
It is a nice one. It's definitely different to like a Monster contract or anything like that, but it's very nice. It's not stressful.
So who else is there? Any other brands that I may not have heard of that are big in Thailand?
Wakeboarding. I ride for Sezi Tech, the cable company. I kind of ride for Razer, the computer company. Like they used to send me like a lot of product, and I used to go to like their thing in Singapore, but I haven't really talked to them in a bit.
For us, Razer is scooters.
Yeah. And there's I feel bad forgetting.
We don't have to get through all of your sponsors. Really, what I want to know, and you don't have to give me the exact number, but I always like it when people do, and most people don't. But in terms of where you are in the wakeboard world, I mean, you're the Wake Park Rider of the Year, I think from 2012 to 2016, you won that award. So that's pretty incredible that you've been the best for 5 years in a row based on the voting. And what kind of money can someone at your level make in a year?
Shit, that's my dad. My dad knows that one. I literally, I don't see much of my money.
So you really are totally not involved. It's like you are just the athlete and your dad's your business management?
I'm just riding and having fun. And I just deal with, money I get from, one sponsor, and then my other money probably goes into, my house or something like that. I'm not sure.
Do you get an allowance of what you can spend?
Yeah, but I kind of put an allowance on myself. It's not like I'm I can always ask my dad for more money, but I always try to set myself on a level of what I should spend there. You have to spend a lot to realize that, I feel. I came to that point. My dad let me come to that point when I was pretty young, so I guess it helped. But everyone's going to go through that.
But you're comfortable. You've got a house. You've got a car.
Yeah. I'm a house and my car. And
What's the dumbest thing you've bought that you're stoked that you have, but you don't really need?
I've got a lot of them, but I still think I really need them. Oh, what could it be? Yes. A TV.
No, you need a TV. You're supposed to have one based on it being 2018.
I have a TV, but it's pointless because it's for all my guests. I don't use them for myself. I can't physically sit down and watch TV. It hurts me.
Well, we have this legal stuff here in the U.S. It's called weed. And if you buy some and then you eat it, smoke it, or do whatever you do with it, TV becomes a lot better. But you should stay away from it.
Yeah.
You had mentioned Monster, and you were with Monster for a little bit. And like I say, everyone in the U.S. wants to have, not everybody wants to have, but anyone in the U.S. who has an energy drink sponsor is afforded opportunities that people that don't have energy drink sponsors, they don't get. When you're with Monster, I'm sure it creates a lot of video projects, a lot of trips, and a lot of stuff that you just thought was incredible. And then they pretty much drop wakeboarding. How does that whole thing happen?
From what I heard, it was like an NFL player or something.
What do you mean? They signed an NFL player, so they killed wakeboarding?
Yeah, they signed an NFL player, and then they had to drop the whole wakeboarding team. But any NFL player that's on TV has to be in the Gatorade stuff anyway, because it's sponsored by Gatorade. So it was pretty silly on the Monster behalf.
Is that a bummer? Because I know that your team manager at Liquid Force, I believe he works with Monster and Spy as well. So it's kind of like you're in this sponsor bracket with one dude that's managing 3 brands and an awesome guy in Aaron Grace. Is he the one that has to relay to you like, hey, this is what Monster's doing, and he has to break your heart and your biggest paycheck is now gone?
Pretty much. Like, it was called the Grace Umbrella. Like, when Monster dropped out, I didn't really, I don't know, look at it in a bad way and just was like, well, at least I got my helmet back. I feel like when I had Monster, I really lost my turtle identity, and they really took my turtle, so I brought it back. Because like it was hard for when my towel came out for my wakeboarding. Not many people realized that it meant turtle and tie. Because I was running Monster helmet at the time, but if I was running my turtle helmet, it would like link in how I wanted it to.
When you mentioned Tao, I mean, that's been your nickname, I think, your whole life until you became like the Candy Man or something like that. But 2015 was the year of Tao. It was like a ton of video content. You had Monster. You were thinking Monster was going to back everything, and it was going to be huge. And then it becomes almost a personal project where you have to buy a camera.
Oh, yeah. The first one was Monster backed, and that was with Brandon Thomas B2, who's doing my Real Wake now. But that year was insane. Like, I wanted to do this project by myself and proposed it to Monster and Rip Curl, and that was cool. But then, just as I was getting it started, Liquid Force wanted to start their own Liquid Force movie, The LF and Awesome. And so I had to tie that in. And then just like this year, X Games got tied in. And then so I was doing like 3 video projects while zipping around the world doing all these contests.
What's the most important to you? Because, you know, when you're out filming for town, you want to put together a banger edit that people are going to have their minds blown by. But then you get the call midway through and they're like, hey, you've got to put this X Games edit together. And you're like, shit. I had all this stuff that I wanted to save for my video, but I think you're pulling footage to make your X Games thing as good as possible. But what's the most important project to you at that point?
X Games was definitely on the top of the list. Like, as soon as you hear about it, as much stress as it brings on, it's great for exposure and for the sport and for everything, I feel. It's really full on. Like, I didn't want to, like, take any of the clips I'd already filmed or anything like that. I wanted to keep the Tao project more like a lifestyle thing and how I kind of go about my life and how Thailand is. And then it broke into the It was more like kind of like that type of style video. And then the Liquid Force one, I was just all over the place. So it was funny. I was in London doing plastic playgrounds, finished the contest, flew to Canada on the Monday, got there Tuesday, filmed till Thursday, flew back to England to like another city, Liverpool, and did the Red Bull Harbor Reach contest.
Dude, your life is crazy, and crazy in an awesome way.
Yeah, it's fun. This year I've been breaking it up. Like I did like 6 weeks travel, and now I'm home for about 4 weeks or so, and then travel for a month, and then back for a bit. When I was a child, 2013, 14, I would just start in April and come back in September.
Another sponsor that is under that Grace umbrella is Spy, and I know you were with them as well, but I look at their program, and they do have one wakeboarder on their website, but what happened to the wakeboard program over there?
It slowly faded. It was a really funny one, too. I got like an email saying, oh, like the Spy thing's kind of done, like this and that. And I was kind of confused. And then like a week or two later, I got another email like, oh, hey, Dan, that email actually wasn't for you. Like, I was on for like the last year was last year. And that was it. But now I'm on a new Sunny's one called Hilks or something. Hilks. That's the new one.
Yeah, you better talk to your dad and figure out the name of that brand.
It's brand new. Hilks.
Oh, yeah, you know it. That one falls apart too, and they get out of it. I don't know if there's NFL players involved with Spy, but that sucks. But one thing that I know, I worked as a team manager for a long time for an American company. And I know that American companies spend U.S. budgets. And when they're looking to support athletes and drive sales, they're looking to do it in the U.S. You happen to be a badass rider who's going to impact sales, but you don't live in the U.S. And I think a lot of the brands that you work for are U.S. based. And has that ever been an issue in your career where it's like, hey, we need you in the States more?
Yeah, a fair bit. Like I'd have to do my couple free-for-all shares in America and try to be around more. But like this year, there hasn't been any events or anything. It's just been really hard to stay over there for me when there's like so much other things going on. And at this point, I can actually get stuff done in Europe or anywhere else.
Are you seeing the scene fall off a little bit in the U.S. if there's not as many contests? And what's the landscape look like? Where's wakeboarding the biggest, and what's happening in the U.S.?
It hasn't dropped. It just is at like I don't know. It's at like a flat level, and I just feel like everything's kind of getting its like what they want to get ready, and then it's going to come back with a big boom. I don't think America ever wants to do anything half-assed. Like if they're going to do it, they're going to do it like big. So they're going to just wait till they've got everything they want sorted and just come back with a bang.
Yeah, America, fuck yeah, if you've seen the movie. You know, thinking of what you do, I mean, if you were a skateboarder, you'd be looked at as a park rat that was only known for park and not going outside of the park because you spend your time in cable parks and winches and you're not behind a boat ever. And I don't know wakeboarding enough to know if you lose respect by not being able to do shit on the open water. But is there a perception, or do people look at you differently because you don't ride behind a boat?
I think they would if I didn't ride a wake skate. I think my wake skating kind of balances it out. They're like, oh, fuck, he doesn't ride boat. But I don't ride a wake skate as much as he does. So, yeah.
Fair enough. So we are now going to jump into inappropriate questions. And
how much travel stats if you want a little fun facts?
Yeah, let's hear some.
Well, this year I've done 5 trips, 74 days so far, 97,000 kilometers in 22 cities in 13 countries.
How many women?
0, just 1.
Okay. Because I would think that you're 20 years old. You're in the prime of your life for having fun, for meeting a partner or partners per se. And was there ever any time where you lived like a sailor, where you're going port to port, enjoying what each city had to offer?
Yeah, I guess so. Like I had I don't know. I realized when I was just like spending money on myself and having fun for me was nowhere near as having, I don't know, like having a good time with my animals, making a good time for my girlfriend, it was so much more cooler helping other people have a good time than making myself just have a good time. But I had to realize that through doing fucking, I don't know, yeah.
You got to live, man. And you were put in an opportunity. As a wakeboarder, you go to a place where a lot of people are in bathing suits. And that's awesome. So I would think you could try to take advantage of that. And it sounds like maybe you did. And now you've got just one person. And that's great. But I am going to jump right into inappropriate questions now. So I'm going to play you some audio. And I've got Aaron Grace here. He's the team manager over at Liquid Force. You were a pro at Liquid Force too, right?
I was years and years ago.
Okay, well, you're going to be on the podcast and we're going to talk about that pro career and then you pushing paper behind a desk. But before we do that, we're going to ask 3 inappropriate questions to Daniel Grant. And when I say we, you are going to ask the questions, and you have question number 1 ready.
Question number 1, Daniel. Living in Bangkok pretty much your entire life, have you ever made the mistake of hooking up or making the moves on a ladyboy?
I'm not familiar with the term ladyboy, Aaron. Can you explain to me what you're talking about?
A ladyboy in Thailand or in Bangkok is a male that usually has a sex change, sometimes not, and actually makes her sometimes a pretty attractive female. And it's kind of tough to tell sometimes, but there have been some mistakes made that I've known of. So I'm just wondering if Daniel's ever made that mistake as well.
All right, so that's question 1. Have you ever made the mistake? We were talking about sowing those wild oats and living like a sailor. Have you ever made a mistake and taken the wrong person home?
Hey, Grace. Growing up in Thailand, we definitely know how to tell the difference between the two. Yeah, you look for the throat. Not the fucking Adam's apple thing.
I hear the term ladyboy. I've never been to Thailand, but the amount and frequency I hear it from people who come back from there make me think, is there a larger proportion of transgendered people in Thailand than anywhere else?
Not really. It's just I guess it's very accepted in a way, and people always have the stories and all that because they always find them at at counters working and this and that, like a front desk where you'd get service or something. And I think it's just more because, I don't know why people hire them more, but it's just the thing that it's just you see, I guess. But it's become so normal to me now since I've grown up around it that it's not really, you just deal with it, I guess. It's not really anything.
I think it's good that it's normal for you. It's not normal, and it makes people react all kinds of crazy, and that's not a good thing. It should be normal. I'm going to go to question number 2.
Here we go.
So, Daniel, I know you've been traveling by yourself for many years now. You're still young, but I want to know, when was the first time you ever really got completely hammered drunk or just wasted? How old were you? And where were you?
How old is he now? Is he like 19 or 20?
I think he's 20.
Okay.
Yep.
So not legal to drink here in the U.S.
No.
But he enjoys a cold one or two?
He used to, I think so. And that's weird saying that at the age of 20, but yes.
He's put that behind him.
He has. He's already past that phase in his life.
So it sounds like you used to enjoy a cold beer here and there, or 10, or however many you enjoyed.
He's more a whiskey Coke kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, when was like a really wild?
First, when did it start for you? Because you're traveling at 13, you have no parents involved, and you're pretty much, I would think, with some people making bad decisions, and they're not really bad decisions, but for a 13-year-old they are. And they're probably like, yeah, we can give this kid a beer, whatever, let's see what happens. How old are you when that first happens?
I don't know, I was like 12, 13 in the Philippines, like running around with like a beer behind my back, sipping it like every once in a while when I get used to it. And then I'm trying to think of like, because Grace's question was like, when it was messy, and I was like, oh, when was like a messy one? But I do remember it was probably, I don't know, I was probably like 14. Because normally when I get drunk, I always try to like handle myself very well. Like not handle myself, but I never wanted people to take care of me. Even when I was like throwing up, I'd be at points, so I was like walking down the like stairs to the club, but I'd half throw up, it'd be in my mouth and my cheeks are full. And I'd like just swallow it back down, turn back up the stairs, and I was like, okay, I'm okay. The one that really comes to my mind, I was probably 15, 16, and it was like that one in Liverpool. It was probably after I did all that traveling, thanks to you, Grace. I like for the Elephant Awesome thing, I did a plastic playground, flew to Canada, and then flew back for Harbour Reach. And I guess we were drinking all night, like going bar to bar. And at this one bar, there was this like nest-looking like egg thing, and I just crawled in there with like my drink, and I ended up just being passed out in there. until like someone dragged me out. And then on the way out, I couldn't really remember. And then I was hanging my head out the window and I was just throwing up. Oh, and there was another one. I was fucking in Austria, and it was in Red Bull Wake of Steel. And I guess I went to the toilet to take a piss, and I fell asleep in the toilet. And then I woke up, and the whole club was just like cleaning, and just like, I was just like, what? Like, I missed the whole party? Like, what the fuck happened?
How does that even happen? Do you pee sitting down?
No, I don't know. Maybe I think the pisser was probably full, and I just went to go like, I don't know. Or maybe I needed to throw up.
Okay, because I'm just thinking that you went to take a piss and you passed out. I'm thinking you probably didn't pass out at the urinal with your arm up against the wall.
No. I was like, I guess I got comfortable. I like sat down for a bit. I guess I pissed or like I threw up, and I sat and I was like, whoa, like I'm pretty waved, like help. And then I fell asleep.
Well, that is going to take us into our final inappropriate question.
Come on, Grace, give it to me.
All right, the final question is not necessarily inappropriate, but just one I've kind of wondered. Again, since you've been traveling for so many years and at such a young age, been to multiple countries and just, all over the globe, what is your craziest or just scariest story while traveling?
All right, so have you ever almost been kidnapped at 13 or some crazy shit happened to you where you were almost scared and didn't want to travel anymore? Or what's the weirdest thing or craziest thing?
Don't know what to call crazy. You know what I mean? I don't know where I draw the line of crazy for it. Where
I think it's like where your personal safety you feel like could be jeopardized.
I never really felt that way with the I always knew people when I was traveling, but I guess when I had been like held up in flights, like where they like delayed you and they put you on the next day, it was a lot different being 13 in like, I forgot what fucking state I was in America, but I didn't know who the fuck, I didn't know anyone. And then I had to be 13 and figure out how to get a cab to the hotel. And then the hotel wouldn't let me check in because I was too young, but I was like, fuck, like my flight didn't even let me fly today. Just get me in a room. I'm going to fly out tomorrow. I don't know, like, I feel at airports, I'd always get along with the sketchier people than the fucking people that are trying to fucking get their shit done. Not sketchier people, but they're just like, it's not really like.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But it's hard when they don't speak English and you're like trying to like, you speak like 1,000 words of silence with them for like 10 minutes.
You haven't had too many terrible travel issues, and a kid who travels by themselves from 13 until now, that's awesome, man, because I know in my 20s I put myself in bad travel situations based on dumb decisions. It doesn't sound like you made them, but I want to thank you for your time, man, your career. I mean, Wake Park Rider of the Year from 2012 to 2016. You'd only been a pro for 2 years at that point. It's amazing, man. You are one of those prodigies who has the world at their fingertips right now, and it's early in your career, so it'll be cool to see what happens as you move forward.
Yeah, thanks. I literally just try to keep myself entertained.
So that was time with Daniel Grant, and he shares a whole lot of his story for a 20-year-old because most 20-year-olds are pretty reserved. I interviewed Tom Shar, who was 17. He didn't share much, but Daniel did. But the one thing he couldn't share was about money. Seriously, I can't believe the dude doesn't know what he makes. It's crazy. But it's early for Daniel, and he has plenty of time to make more and figure out what he's making at some point in his career. While he has the luxury of having his dad take care of all of his business at this point, I'm sure one day Daniel will be able to take some of that on and be his own man. But really, the kid is 20. He's been at the top of the game for a long time, and who am I to poke holes in his life? It looks amazing, and I'm jealous that he has a dad who does all the bullshit work so Daniel can have fun and travel the world. Next week, I have a great podcast with former pro wakeboarder and current team and marketing manager over at Liquid Force, Aaron Grace. Aaron is not shy about telling it how it is in the world of wakeboarding, and he does it in a funny way that makes for a great listen. That's next week. Until then, please give me a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen to me on. If you're on an iPhone, it takes a minute, and here's what you need to do. Go to podcasts on your iPhone or iTunes, search for The Powell Movement, scroll down to where you see the stars, hit 5 stars, and you're done. Thank you very much for doing it, and thank you for listening. And I also really want to thank my amazing sponsors. They are Evo, Rescue Water, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. Have a great week, everyone.